Days passed. Udi remained silent, waiting for a miracle that would never come. The villagers, desperate and hopeless, gathered at the riverbank, hoping against hope that Ugo would return with news of salvation. But the sun continued to beat down mercilessly, and the drought remained unbroken. Then, one day, just as despair began to settle over the village, a strange mist rolled in from the horizon. It hung low over the land, swirling and shimmering like a veil of silver. The villagers watched in awe as the mist deepened, rising higher and higher until it enveloped the village entirely. Suddenly, water rained down from the sky, soaking the parched earth and filling the riverbeds once more. Laughter erupted from the villagers, and they danced in the streets, their hearts lifted from despair. They rushed to fill their pots and buckets, celebrating the return of life to their land. But as the water poured down, a shadow flickered at the edge of the mist. Ugo appeared, staggering from the depths of the ocean, his clothes tattered and his face pale. The villagers froze, their cheers dying on their lips as they took in his appearance. "What happened?" one villager asked, fear creeping into her voice. "What did you find?" Ugo shook his head, the weight of his journey pressing down on him. "I drank the ocean," he said, his voice hoarse. "I thought I could save you all, but I unleashed something terrible." The villagers gasped, and a ripple of dread spread through the crowd. "What do you mean?" another villager asked, stepping closer. "The guardians of the deep," Ugo whispered, his eyes haunted. "They were released when I drank the ocean. They are powerful and will come for us." Fear coursed through the villagers as they looked around, the joy of the rain turning to anxiety. They had what they had longed for, the water to nourish their crops and quench their thirst, but it came with a price. They had disrupted the balance of nature, and now they would have to face the consequences. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the village, a storm gathered on the horizon. The wind howled, and the once calm waters turned turbulent. Dark clouds rolled in, blotting out the light, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The villagers huddled together, fear tightening its grip on their hearts. Then, from the depths of the storm, the guardians rose, their forms twisting and writhing as they surged toward the village. Glowing eyes pierced through the darkness, their intent clear. They had come to reclaim what was theirs. Ugo stood before the villagers, his heart pounding. "We must unite," he shouted, his voice echoing against the wind. "We cannot face them alone." But the villagers were paralyzed with fear, unsure of what to do. They had turned against nature for so long. Now, facing its wrath, they felt helpless. "Listen to me," Ugo urged, desperation creeping into his voice. "We must remember what we once knew. We need to honor the spirits of the land and the ocean. We must sacrifice to the guardians, show them we are worthy of their mercy." One brave villager stepped forward. "But what can we give?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ugo's mind raced. "Our offerings," he replied. "We must give back what we have taken. Food, water, anything we can spare. We must show them we are willing to change." The villagers hesitated, glancing at one another. They were frightened but also desperate. Finally, one by one, they nodded, their determination igniting a spark of hope within them. As the storm raged on, they gathered whatever they could find, grains, fruits, and fresh water. They formed a circle in the village square, their hearts united in a single purpose. Ugo led them in a chant, calling out to the spirits of the ocean and the land, begging for forgiveness and mercy. The wind howled, but they stood firm, their voices rising against the storm. They offered their sacrifices, their hearts open and willing to change. As the last of their offerings were cast into the ground, a silence fell over the village. The storm paused, and a stillness enveloped them. Slowly, the guardians emerged from the darkness, their forms shimmering like the ocean waves. They circled the village, their glowing eyes watching intently. Ugo stepped forward, his heart pounding. "We ask for your mercy," he pleaded. "We have wronged the land and the ocean, but we seek to honor you. We will change our ways." The guardians paused, their eyes narrowing as they considered Ugo's words. The tension in the air was palpable, the outcome uncertain. The villagers held their breath, waiting for a sign. Finally, one of the guardians stepped forward. Its voice was like the crashing waves, powerful and resonant. "You have taken from us without gratitude, but you have offered yourselves in return. We will grant you mercy. But know this, if you do not honor your promise to respect the land and the ocean, We will return, and you will face the consequences of your greed once more." With those words, the storm dissipated, and the waters receded, leaving the villagers in stunned silence. The guardians faded back into the depths of the ocean, their presence lingering in the air like a distant echo. As dawn broke, light flooded the village, bathing everything in a golden glow. Ugo stood before his people, a sense of relief washing over him. The rain had returned, and the river flowed anew, its waters clear and full of life. But this time the villagers understood the importance of balance. They began to change, sharing their harvests and taking only what they needed. They made rituals of gratitude part of their lives, honoring both the land and the ocean. Ugo had saved his village, but it had come at a great cost. He carried the weight of his actions, knowing that the journey to restore balance would take time. The villagers were determined to heal their relationship with nature, ensuring that their greed would not return. As Ugo stood on the riverbank, watching the waters flow, he felt a sense of hope. They had learned their lesson, and together they would create a new future. A future where the earth and water would flourish once more.